Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share, and subscribe. Enjoy today's episode.
Long, at this time, you are still as hypocritical and stubborn as before. Boom. Long's expression suddenly became stiff, as if struck by lightning, and he stared straight ahead. Although that cold voice had not been heard for nearly 20 years and had even begun to become a bit unfamiliar, how could she forget it? In the past 20 years, ever since she took over as Saintess of the Gu clan, she seemed to have unlimited success, but every night after falling asleep, she could not help but see that cold and noble figure. Back then, in front of him, she was like an ugly duckling in front of a white swan, always feeling ashamed of herself. The Gu clan elders and Gu masters in front of them were like a crowd, one after another getting out of the way, directly making way for a passage, lowering their heads and showing respect. A peerless beauty wearing snow-white Gu clothes, with skin as smooth as gelatin, exuding a holy light, cold and noble, came in. As soon as the person appeared on the stage, his momentum alone directly overwhelmed everyone present, making countless people change their minds. Even Long, the current saintess, was suppressed. "And Beiyuan, my good cousin, you are not dead." Long's eyes were red. His face was ferocious. He was gnashing his teeth. His thin and withered body was trembling constantly, and he didn't know whether it was anger or fear. The expressions of the direct elders standing next to her also changed dramatically when they saw that magnificent figure. Some even lowered their heads subconsciously, with some shame on their faces, and did not dare to look directly into his eyes. They also played a disgraceful role in that incident. And Beiyuan and Long seemed to be cousins, but they actually belonged to two major Gu clan factions. The former is the direct bloodline of the female Gu emperor, Ice Gu clan. The latter is a lineage of the demon Gu clan that is a descendant of the female Gu emperor. They inherited the bloodline power and inheritance of the female Gu emperor. Back then, the reason why Beiyuan was in trouble and Long came to power was essentially because of the struggle between the two Gu clan factions. At this moment, seeing Beiyuan appear alive, combined with all the unusual circumstances before, how could Long not know that the other party was behind all this? No wonder her plan to send people to assassinate other Saintess candidates was exposed. No wonder she had an inexplicable sense of foreboding. However, what made Long even more angry was the successive betrayals of the Gu clan elders in front of him. The guy who had bowed before her before was now beginning to show his sharp fangs. Inverted. Of course I'm not dead. If I were to die, wouldn't it be an advantage for you? **ch. Everything you took away from me back then, I will take back. And Beiyuan's eyes were cold as she looked at the old woman in front of her who was as skinny as firewood and whose face turned ferocious due to jealousy and fear. She originally thought that when she met the other party again, she would definitely have the pleasure of revenge in her heart. But for some reason, looking at that figure who was only in her 30s, who should have been in her prime of life, turned into an ugly old woman in her 70s, trapped in the myriad tribulations and no longer in a situation, all she felt in her heart was a touch of relief. At this moment, she didn't feel the slightest bit of happiness that she was about to get her revenge. Instead, she unconsciously thought of that tall figure who liked to soak in pools of blood, was evil-minded, and had strong muscles. It's reversed. As long as the handover ceremony is not over, I will still be the saintess of the Gu tribe and the supreme being in the entire southern Xinjiang. You guys want to rebel. Fortunately, I had predicted it and sent people to mobilize the Gu tribe's army in advance. Now they are almost here. Before Long could finish her almost crazy words, she saw a huge head thrown in from outside the temple, rolling crazily on the ground and rolling in front of her. Long, you don't have to be wishful thinking. Your people were intercepted and killed by my elders on the way. Now, all the troops belonging to the Gu tribe are in Beiyuan's hands. The plump, mature figure of the great elder slowly walked into the temple and directly told a piece of news that changed the situation. And may you be **ch. Long was so angry that he was shaking all over. His face was pale, and he was yelling curses. The expressions of the other supporters around him also changed drastically, and they were a little at a loss. At this moment, it seemed like the situation was over for them. Outside the temple, the spokesmen of the major forces in southern Xinjiang all looked at this farce that belonged to the Gu tribe in front of them with indifference and silence. Su Long and her accomplices lost. Now they have to face the entire Gu clan. In this case, they will definitely lose. The situation has been decided. It seems that Biyu, who has returned with revenge, will be the next saintess. I didn't expect that there are still people who can tolerate it for 20 years, secretly contacting major tribes, just to come back for revenge. Such a heart is simply terrifying. Su Long has been manipulated almost from the beginning to the end. Unexpectedly, all the people we bet on were assassinated and died. But now there is such a dark horse. The situation in southern Xinjiang is about to change, but I don't know what the attitude of the new lord of southern Xinjiang will be. People present made exclamations from time to time. Obviously, they had seen Su Long's ending. As for why the other forces in southern Xinjiang don't intervene to change the situation and gain maximum benefits? Haha, the mysterious Emperor Gu in the temple was dormant and asleep, not died suddenly. It doesn't care about the internal struggles of the Gu clan. But if any outsider dares to participate in it, then wait to meet its wrath. By that time, all the forces behind it can only be said to have fallen. The reason why the Gu clan did not expel them but left them as witnesses was to announce the birth of a new king to the entire southern Xinjiang. In the crowd, a short figure in black, carrying a bamboo basket and holding half a bunch of candied haws, was holding the hand of a Gu girl, watching the scene happening in front of him with interest, as if he was witnessing history. In the bamboo basket, the little girl wearing a crooked tiger head hat is holding a milk bottle in one hand and a candied haws in the other hand. She still has one in her mouth, sleeping soundly and chewing it from time to time. Puff, 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 just as everyone expected. When most of the Gu tribe's village factions chose to side with Biyu, Su Long's fate is naturally conceivable. A scene that was almost a massacre was instantly staged in the temple. Su Long's loyalists were killed one after another. The scarlet blood instantly dyed the entire temple red, and the air was filled with a strong smell of rust. But just when everyone was convinced that the overall situation had been decided, the sudden and terrifying imperial power suddenly erupted under the temple. A huge centipede figure suddenly appeared in front of Su Long, letting out a shocking roar. Emperor-level Gu insect. The expressions of the Great Elder and others changed slightly. Obviously, they did not expect that Su Long actually had such a trump card. In an instant, the entire situation changed dramatically. You forced me to do this. Today, you will all die. Su Long's eyes were scarlet. His shawl was loose. He was shouting almost madly. He looked like an old madman. As early as before, she had learned from her subordinates that the human-faced monster earthworm Gu had been severely damaged. She secretly used all her strength and paid a heavy price to capture it. Although she is still unable to completely control this emperor-level Gu insect at this moment. But as long as you pay the price, you can still gain control of it temporarily. Human-faced monster centipede Gu, kill that be ***ch in front of me. Su Long did not hesitate, pointed at Biyu's figure, and ordered directly. At the moment, her resentment towards Biyu is almost endless, and naturally she is unwilling to let go of this ***ch who almost ruined her reputation. Back then, I could kill you once. Now, nature can kill you a second time. Not good. The faces of the Gu clan elders, headed by the Great Elder, changed dramatically. If Biyu dies, their transformation this time will be completely meaningless. Hiss. But the human-faced monster cockroach Gu is an emperor-level Gu, and its outbreak speed is extremely fast, making it even more terrifying than ordinary emperor-level beasts. In an instant, the space was torn apart, and he was directly in front of Biyu, whose face changed slightly. His ferocious mouth parts grew like a sickle, as if he could cut her in half in the next moment. In an instant, the situation suddenly changed, beyond everyone's expectation. No one expected that Su Long could make a comeback at the last minute. Some people even couldn't bear to close their eyes, not wanting to see that stunning figure being cut in half in front of them, and the scene of Xiangyun. Clang. But at this moment, a strange clanging sound suddenly sounded. The human-faced demon centipede Gu, who was charging at a high speed, suddenly froze up. It was like a speeding train that suddenly stepped on the brakes and stopped like crazy. There was a strange sense of contrast. The extremely sharp sickle mouthpart was less than an inch away from Invincible and remained motionless. And the reason for all this is just because the weird human face of this emperor-level Gu insect saw a little boy wearing black clothes and carrying a bamboo basket outside the temple, smiling innocently at it. The moment it saw the familiar face of the little boy, a terrible giant, wearing a broken bronze mask unconsciously appeared in its mind and smiled at it. Boom. It knelt down. Boom. In everyone's stunned eyes, the human-faced monster earthworm, who was supposed to show off his might and cut Invincible in half directly, killing him on the spot, suddenly stopped in midair and then fell straight upright. Go down. At this moment, it seemed to surrender, falling in front of Invincible, motionless and shivering from time to time. This sudden scene immediately confused everyone. The air seemed to solidify at this moment. In an instant, everyone's eyes were focused on Invincible, as if they were witnessing some kind of miracle. Even the emperor-level Gu couldn't help but kneel down and surrender. Could such a legendary scene be destiny's favor? Southern Xinjiang is located in the virgin forest. It is notoriously backward and wild. However, it has a positive attitude towards some things and is extremely superstitious. Now that something like this happens, everyone present can't help but think of it. Human-faced monster centipede Gu, what are you doing? Get up quickly. Kill her, kill her. At this moment, the only one who doesn't want to believe it is Su Long. As her last trump card, the human-faced monster centipede Gu was the key to turning defeat into victory and making a complete comeback. But now, this hope has been completely shattered. This is undoubtedly more uncomfortable than killing her. She was already on the verge of mental collapse, and she completely fell into madness. She burned the blood in her body like crazy, trying to control this emperor-level Gu to take a step forward. However, the human-faced demon centipede Gu, who was so powerful just now, fell to the ground like a dead pig, trembling crazily, foaming at the mouth, as if he had fainted from fright. It's not surprising that it reacted so violently at the moment. It was really because someone's previous transformation cast a huge shadow on it. Thinking about it before, the terrifying giant wearing a broken bronze mask suddenly appeared. With an evil smile, he tore off its foot joints and at the same time condensed a light knife to chop off its head alive. What was even more terrifying was that the terrifying giant at that time was still muttering, "It doesn't hurt, it doesn't hurt. Damn it, if the knife falls on me, it won't hurt if you strangle me. It hurts so much. I'm not a monster who can't feel pain." At that time, I tried my best and lost half of my life as a centipede, but I barely managed to avoid being chased by the evil star's clone. Now, the real owner has arrived. Earthworm, I'm scared to death. What's interesting is that from beginning to end, Chen Beiyuan didn't take any action. Instead, a certain emperor-level Gu just glanced at him and frightened him into fainting. In a sense, this means that Chen Beiyuan did not violate the rules of the Gu clan. But at this moment, almost no one in the room seemed to notice that anything was wrong. Only Invincible, who was standing in front of the human-faced demon centipede Gu, seemed to notice something at this moment. She turned back sharply and looked outside. At this moment, she seemed to see a figure in black that was getting farther and farther away, blurry, and deep into her bones. It's really him. If we say that before, Anya, a girl from the Gu tribe, had never been able to determine the true identity of the little boy in front of her. But the moment the emperor-level Gu appeared and quickly fell to his knees on the ground, she had already guessed a certain possibility and became the second woman to know the truth after Invincible. She stared closely at the little boy in front of her, her body shaking unconsciously, as if she was suppressing something. However, the little boy carrying the bamboo basket seemed not to notice, holding her hand and walking outside. "Sister, take me to your aunt's house to see you." Temple, holy temple. A flash of light suddenly appeared in the dark space, a gap opened, and he looked out, locking on a certain target. It's all about judging whether the other party has violated the rules. After a long time, The open gap slowly closed again. For a moment, Beiyuan thought about chasing that black figure at all costs. However, she knew very well that this was absolutely not allowed. Now, everyone's eyes, everyone's hopes and wishes are pinned on her. If she runs away at this time, there will undoubtedly be chaos. With cold eyes, she stepped on the human-faced monster earthworm goo, crossed the pool of blood, and walked towards the crazy Su Long. She didn't know when she had an ice knife in her hand. It's impossible, this can't be. Puff. Su Long was beheaded in public, and his head flew high into the air. The shriveled, ugly face still has a madness that cannot be dissipated. This former saintess of the Gu clan, who had ruled the entire southern Xinjiang for nearly 20 years, was directly beheaded in public at this moment. For a moment, the whole place was silent, and then there were endless cheers, and crazy sounds. At this moment, the entire southern Xinjiang was shaken. Everyone seems to be cheering for the emergence of a new king. However, no one noticed that the new king was staring in the direction where the figure in black disappeared, silent for a long time. Ding! It was detected that the host changed the original fate line. The hidden heroine and Beiyuan in the original work broke away from the original death fate track and successfully took revenge in the saintess election without risking her life. She is about to become the new lord of southern Xinjiang and got the blessing of luck from the mysterious Emperor Gu. Ding! The hidden heroine and Beiyuan's own luck will be upgraded, and she will become the 5th luck heroine. Ding! Congratulations to the host for receiving a special reward. Divine Blood, rank 9. Divine Blood, rank 9. This is a drop of special blood condensed from the fallen god's own divinity, divine body, and divine blood. It can re-endow items with divinity, restore all broken pieces, and return to your peak state. Note: the highest level of repaired items is only rank 9 divine level. Divine Blood. Can you repair anything that is broken? I saw that in the system space, a drop of golden blood like a hill was blooming with dazzling light, and the powerful divine aura vaguely revealed how powerful he was during his lifetime. It's such a divine thing. Chen Beiyuan, who was holding the Gu girl's thigh, suddenly paused in his eyes, and then a special light appeared in his eyes, and he instantly realized the terrifying value contained in it. At this moment, his eyes suddenly looked at the broken bronze mask in the corner. Broken ancient god mask. If this thing can be completely repaired, it will definitely be another powerful trump card that can terrorize the rank 9 divine weapon. However, there are some risks. Tread. After Beiyuan killed Su Long, she completely established her position as the new saintess in front of the elders and clan members. Most of the people present showed a satisfied smile, and among them those Gu tribesmen who had exchanged interests and had the power of following the dragon were undoubtedly the most excited. As long as you make the right bet on your side, you can completely turn over and return to the position of power from the bench. Now, only 3 days later, Beiyuan will enter the Holy Temple and perform the Emperor Gu handover ceremony. After gaining the Emperor Gu's recognition and power, she can truly become the new master of southern Xinjiang. When the time comes, they can soar into the sky. The Emperor-level Gu, human-faced demonic earthworm Gu, which was unconscious and had not fully recovered from its injuries, was directly suppressed by the powerful Gu clans present using the bloodline formation and imprisoned, awaiting the disposal of the new saintess. The spokespersons of the major forces in southern Xinjiang outside the temple also quickly returned and began to pass back the news that could change the entire situation in southern Xinjiang. Beiyuan, please stay in the temple during these 3 days. During these 3 days, all the major forces in southern Xinjiang will come to the temple to congratulate you as the new leader of southern Xinjiang. Aunt, I still have some important things to deal with. Please take care of things for me first. Anbai directly interrupted the great elder's words and did not stay in the temple. Instead, she hurriedly left and headed towards the Gu house where she lived before. At this moment, she could no longer suppress the excitement in her heart. At this moment, the most important thing in her mind was not the throne in the temple. All she could think of was the figure of that man. Only the stunned elder and the rest of the Gu clan elders, who were full of doubts, were left in the temple. The results of the Gu clan's general election have come out, and they were shocked. It's really a terrifying character to have endured for 20 years and come back for revenge. I'm afraid even the imperial capital wouldn't have thought of this result. I'm afraid the situation in southern Xinjiang is about to change, so the news must be passed on as soon as possible. Nowadays, southern Xinjiang has a great impact on the interests of various families. I only hope that the new leader of southern Xinjiang will be easy to deal with. The most urgent thing now is probably the Lin family of Donghua. The Lin family is responsible for the southern front. All supplies need to be transported to and from southern Xinjiang. The connection with southern Xinjiang must be close. It is said that the Lin family has always supported it. Sulong, now we have a good show. When the shocking results of the Gu clan's election spread, spies from the major forces lurking in southern Xinjiang quickly passed the news back to the forces behind it. Although on the surface, southern Xinjiang has never been subject to the direct jurisdiction of the empire and is extremely xenophobic, its strategic significance has always existed. No force will ignore this behemoth. Even the royal family, the boss of the empire, attaches great importance to it. If the Chun family is the master of the northern border, the Gu clan is the master of the southern border. The north and the south are almost like mountains, blocking the two most dangerous fronts of the empire. In an instant, spokesmen from various forces were on their way to southern Xinjiang and prepared generous gifts. They only hoped to meet the new master of southern Xinjiang and gain his friendship. Snapped, and Beiyuan pushed open the door fiercely and rushed in. The violent collision between the door and the wall indicated her eagerness at this moment. At this moment, she no longer had the cold, noble, graceful, and elegant look she had just in the temple. Instead, she was very excited, like a girl who fell in love. The moment she entered the house, she could smell the familiar scent of the man. Her already restless heart beat faster. Bang, bang, bang. When she quickly walked up the stairs step by step, came to the roof, and pushed open the room where she once lived. What caught her eye was a familiar figure standing by the window, dressed in black and fluttering in the wind, with his back to her. At this moment, Beiyuan's mind trembled, and her mind went blank. She directly ignored the Gu girl in the room and the little girl with a tiger head hat curled up in a bamboo basket. She stared at the window by the window with trembling eyes. A figure in black. Perhaps sensing her gaze, the figure standing by the window slowly turned around, with a smile of relief appearing on his cute little face. Baisu, long time no see. Bang. And Beiyuan rushed over, ignoring the Gu girl beside her, and directly hugged the little boy standing by the window, her eyes full of affection. Even though he had become smaller, she still recognized him immediately. Owner. The Gu girl on the side looked at the scene in front of her in astonishment, and suddenly felt an inexplicable sense of suffocation welling up in her heart. My aunt actually called a little boy master. This is undoubtedly impacting her outlook on life. At the same time, it also made her feel an inexplicable bitterness, compared to the bitterness of the Gu girl. However, Chen Beiyuan looked lovingly at the completely changed and exotic woman in front of him, with a smile of satisfaction and joy at the reunion on his lips. However, the next moment, his expression suddenly froze, and he was lifted up by a pair of catkins. Master, why have you become smaller? Master, why have you become smaller? The gentle expression on Chen Beiyuan's face, who was lifted up high, seemed to be a little bit unable to hold back for a moment. In the past, he would lift others up high and move them up and down at the same time, but now it was his turn to be lifted up high. In an instant, his pretentious aura just now disappeared instantly after being lifted up high like a child. I don't know if it was his illusion, but he always felt that after Beiyuan lifted her up, her eyes seemed a little unruly, staring straight at a certain place. Put me down quickly. B*********************************** D. Cough. 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 He pretended to cough casually to cover up his embarrassment at the moment. Seeing that the little benefactor seemed a little embarrassed, the Gu tribe girl next to him was silent for a while, silently chose to leave alone, and closed the door. Pop. Accompanied by the closing of the door. Ah, sorry, master, I was too excited. At this moment, in a hurry, Beiyuan, who wanted to confirm the situation, seemed to have realized that she seemed to have been too treasonous and rebellious, and quickly put Chen Beiyuan down, squatted down with a pair of snow-white long legs, and tried to lower her height. However, perhaps because her figure was too tall, even after squatting, she was still half a head taller than Chen Beiyuan standing on the ground. A cold and noble young woman squatted in front of an 8-year-old child. This scene was like a mother looking at her child. Although they hadn't seen each other for more than half a year, they were not unfamiliar at all. Instead, they became closer after meeting. Maybe it was because Chen Beiyuan became a child, plus the previous love ambiguity between each other and the frankness between them, which led to the fact that the relationship between the superiors and subordinates was too vague. At this moment, and Beiyuan was almost close, half looking down at the cute little face of the little master in front of her, and she felt that her heart was about to melt. At this moment, she felt that her hands seemed to be a little itchy, and she wanted to pinch the little master's tight little face. However, in the end, she still forced herself not to continue to offend her superiors. Something went wrong in my cultivation, causing me to maintain this state for a short time. Chen Beiyuan stretched out his hand and stroked her head in a pretentious manner, and his face regained the smile just now. Congratulations, the future lord of southern Xinjiang. How does it feel to take back everything? If it weren't for the help of the master, Beiyuan might still be under the control of the soul-devouring curse, and she would never have a chance to turn over in her life. A trace of tenderness flashed across in Beiyu's cold face, as if she was recalling the scenes when they first met. At that time, she was controlled by others because of her husband and daughter, and the other party promised to help her revenge, so she fell into it little by little. Seeing that Beiyuan seemed to be lost in memories, Chen Beiyuan couldn't help but recall the time they spent together, and his heart was warm. Since ancient times, people's hearts are unpredictable. When they are in a high position, their moods will try to change, resulting in their own ideas. Now, Beiyuan, who is about to become the lord of southern Xinjiang, is just like she was back then. Except for some small details, they are all small things. Just when he was about to open his mouth to encourage and get closer to each other, what he had seen and heard before could not help but come to mind. Regarding the curious question in my mind before, I also asked it directly. I heard that the saintess of the Gu clan wants to remain a saintess, so what's the matter with you? I remember you had a vegetative husband and daughter. Chen Beiyuan stared at the cool young woman in front of him with piercing eyes, seeming to be inexplicably curious. Faced with this question, Beiyuan paused for a moment, seemingly a little surprised and a little relieved. She seemed to feel the interesting gaze of the little boy in front of her, and a trace of rosy appeared on her cold face, and she explained in a low voice. Master, because the Gu Emperor had a love affair back then, she was very unhappy with men. Before she died, she decided that non-virgins were not allowed to control the Emperor Gu and became saintess of the Gu clan. And I am indeed still a virgin. Ruobing is not my biological daughter, but an abandoned baby I picked up back then. At that time, I saw that she had the blood of the Ice Gu clan and her talent potential was extraordinary. I felt pity for a moment and took her away. It's adoption. It's just that not long after that, I was chased and assassinated by Su Long and others, which resulted in me being planted with a soul-eating curse, losing my memory, and falling into the mysterious sea. At that time, I was rescued by Leng Ruobing, but we were not married. He was actually a good person. Along with Beiyuan's explanation, Chen Beiyuan's expression became more and more exciting, even with a trace of unconcealed amazement. This exclamation was not for others, but for Leng Ruobing, who was in a vegetative state at the Leng family in the imperial capital. According to Beiyuan, she lost her memory at that time and was washed to the shore with her dying baby girl in her arms. She was finally rescued by Leng Ruobing. At that time, Leng Ruobing was so shocked the first time he saw her that he vowed never to marry her except her. Even Beiyuan was holding a baby girl and didn't care. Isn't he just a child? Just think of it as buy one get one free, no need to give birth. Even though he knew at that time that Beiyuan might be in big trouble behind his back, he still chose to take shelter as the head of the Leng family and marry her. In the past 20 years, he has never touched Beiyuan, not even held her hand. He just wanted to use his burning love to influence her and make her willing to become her wife. Although he knew that Leng Ruobing was not his biological child, he still regarded him as his biological flesh and blood. Even though Beiyuan had lost his memory and cultivation at that time and had almost no ability to resist, he had no intention of using force. Every night, I put the beautiful girl in bed and sleep on the floor. Good guy. Chen Beiyuan originally thought that he had gone through many vicissitudes and there were not many things that he could be amazed by, but now, he still couldn't help but be moved by it. There is such a turtle man in the world. Even though he knows that the other person does not love him, he is still moved by himself, licks him crazily, and helps raise the child, treating him as his own flesh and blood. If such a person were to be placed in the Sakura Kingdom, he might not be able to be awarded the title of Kame Senin. If I want to leave the world of goo, I'm afraid I won't be able to become a saint with the turtle way. He never thought that there would be such a person in the world. Even the legendary 4 licking dogs in anime are not even half as skilled. They have to pass cigarettes and call Big Brother when they meet. So Leng Ruobing, who is now lying on the 2nd floor of the Leng family's ancestral house and has almost turned into a vegetative state, not only left his delicate and beautiful mother alone 20 years ago, but also willingly raised children for others, promising my own child, loved and loved. Wonderful. It's so wonderful. After Chen Beiyuan learned the truth now, he couldn't help but scream in admiration. A slightly playful look was flowing on Beiyuan in front of him. No wonder Beiyuan's attitude towards Leng Ruobing in the original work is extremely cold, and she doesn't even care about the other person's life or death. No wonder the personalities of Beiyuan and Leng Ruobing are so different. Even their abilities and aspects are like the same world. One is a female martial god who has succeeded in revenge, and the other is a hot weapon with only a love brain. It turns out that the two are not related by blood at all. A certain cool school beauty was simply picked up. In this way, Beiyuan at that time was afraid that she had already calculated everything and knew that her time was running out. So she had high hopes for Leng Ruobing, treating her as the inheritance of her bloodline and will, and entrusting everything to her. He even used some unknown method to forcibly leave the Emperor Gu to Leng Ruobing, who was broken by Chen Laoma at that time. So the question is, will Beiyuan, who is now safe and sound, pass on the Emperor Gu to Leng Ruobing like in the original work? Are there really such selfless people in this world? So, it is really interesting to know how much of the attachment to her husband and daughter she showed in the imperial capital is true and how false. It seems that Beiyuan, who has always attached great importance to her daughter, has never mentioned her since they met. Sure enough, there are a few simple ones who can emerge from the cruel struggle and become kings. If he had known these things before, he would never have thought that Leng Ruobing and Leng Ruobing could become important bargaining chips to restrain the other party. Sure enough, there are never a few smart people in this world. Chen Beiyuan glanced at the little girl in a tiger head hat who was sleeping soundly in the bamboo basket next to him. He looked playfully at Beiyuan, who was blushing and evasive in front of him. He stretched out his young hands, touched her face, and whispered softly, "Road, I thought I would have to change my name when we meet again, but I didn't expect you to give me a big surprise. If I had known earlier, I should have brought Ruobing with me. There are some things that can be discussed honestly, don't you think so, Mrs. Leng?" Under Chen Beiyuan's gaze, the cold and charming young woman in front of him trembled slightly, as if she thought of something, and her eyes seemed to dodge. Suddenly, Chen Beiyuan frowned. His eyes seemed to shine with divine light, as if he noticed something, and stared at the abyss in front of him. Just now, he actually noticed a breath that had an impact on him, and he felt an inexplicable restlessness and heartbeat. Under Beiyuan's stiff gaze, he stretched out his hand, went deep into the abyss, and took out a weird-looking goo insect from the abyss that seemed to exude a sweet smell and a bit of a sour smell. Chen Beiyuan squinted his eyes, seeming a little surprised, but also a little cold. "I heard that there is a special mystical goo within the Goo clan, called Love Goo. As long as you plant this goo, you can't help but feel love for the person who casts the goo. It is said that this goo was created by the female goo emperor back then because of a heartless man, but in the end she was reluctant to use it. What? You prepared it for me." As soon as these words came out, and Beiyuan's face turned pale, she bit her red lips tightly, lowered her head slightly, as if she didn't dare to argue. It was obvious that she had been exposed to some small thoughts. Me, as the saying goes, people's hearts are unpredictable. With the change of status, how can people's hearts be as pure as before? What's more, and BU is a woman with her own desires. The higher you are in a high position, the more you want more, the more greedy you are, the more you want to dominate everything. Chen Beiyuan's eyes became colder and colder, and his chest kept rising and falling, as if he was suppressing his anger. It seems that I really underestimated you. You are much more ambitious than I thought. Do you know I'm very angry right now? Kneel down. Put your hair up. Snapped. The imperial capital, the ancestral home of the Leng family. On the second floor of his ancestral home, Leng Ruobing, who had already turned into a vegetative state, was covered with tubes and motionless. On the instrument next to him, the data that fluctuated for a long time recorded his current situation. For nearly half a year, he has been in a vegetative state and no longer has the high spirits of the past. Not only has the cold and charming wife disappeared without a trace, but even the most beloved daughter has not been home for a long time. At this moment, he seems to be alone. He can only lie on the cold hospital bed and rely on the continuous input of nutrient solution to maintain his life. Suddenly, I don't know if it was an illusion, but Leng Ruobing's closed eyelids seemed to have 2 tears falling down, dripping on the hospital bed. Chen family, inner courtyard. After Chen Beiyuan left, Leng Ruobing, who had successfully stepped onto the progress ladder, was around by Ruowei, the young mistress, and Chen's mother almost all the time, trying her best to please. After the Chen family became more and more powerful, her desire for power became more and more obsessed with her, and she was almost always moving towards progress. At this moment, she seems to have lost her original unruliness, just like a tamed horse. Her biggest dream now is to give birth to a son for Chen Beiyuan, even if it is just AB*****************, as long as he can inherit some of the family business. As for a certain vegetative father and the long-missing mother, she had almost forgotten. At most, I just think of it occasionally and send someone to take care of it, send someone to look for it. Outside the house, Anya, a girl from the Gu tribe, stood blankly outside the door, listening to some strange noise. She was speechless for a long time, as if she felt some kind of heartbreaking pain in her heart. She lowered her head slightly and looked at the half-bunch of candied haws in her hand and the half-bitten hawthorn on it. She couldn't help but take a bite, but she didn't feel any sweetness, but a rich bitterness. When you are young, you are most afraid of meeting someone you can't get, because it will be a lifelong regret. Ant. Holy Temple. The most mysterious, Emperor Gu, of the Gu clan trembled slightly, as if it sensed something and was disturbed from its sleep again. It slowly opened a gap, as if it had penetrated all obstacles and saw something. The next moment, it seemed not to be surprised, as if it had seen a similar scene before. It closed its eyelids again and ignored it. Temple. Great Elder, the Donghua royal family, sent a congratulatory gift and a decree to be canonized by the Tao Emperor. Congratulations to Insaintis for taking charge of the southern border and guarding the southern border for the empire. Great Elder, the Donghua Lin family sent someone to send a special gift to congratulate Her Highness Saintis on her successful election. The Lin family expressed their hope that the friendship with the Gu clan will last forever as in the past. Great Elder, the Donghua Wei family sent someone to send a congratulatory gift to congratulate His Highness Saintis. Dressed in white, the plump, mature-looking elder looked at the messy situation in front of him, but his expression was stiff and ugly, and his charming eyes seemed to have a trace of anger. Since the results of this Saintis election appeared, in addition to the other large and small forces in southern Xinjiang, even the spokespersons of various families in the imperial capital came to deliver the congratulatory gifts that had been prepared long ago, preparing to form a good relationship with the Lord of southern Xinjiang. As the overlord of southern Xinjiang, the Gu clan's power will not be weaker than any top force. In addition, there are affiliated forces of all sizes in southern Xinjiang worshipping him as their leader, and he is definitely an unimaginable behemoth. Even the imperial family cannot ignore it easily. In addition, there are huge benefits from smuggling in southern Xinjiang, so all parties will naturally have to deal with the Gu tribe in southern Xinjiang, a local snake that has been entrenched for many years. Now, representatives from all forces have come to express their request to meet the new saintess. But the problem is that the protagonist, who was supposed to receive congratulations from all forces, just threw away his burden and ran away. This undoubtedly made the great elder angry and a little painful. Suddenly, a secret message came from the temple. The first elder, who was still very angry, turned colder and colder. His eyes were unkind. He snorted coldly and ordered the other elders to deal with the visitors, while he rushed in a certain direction. Suck, suck, suck. In the bamboo basket, a little girl wearing a tiger head hat hugged her tail, lying comfortably on the quilt, sleeping soundly, with sugar residue from the candied haws still remaining at the corner of her mouth, and she was drooling. Suddenly, she seemed to hear some weird noise, as if someone was secretly drinking her milk. She was startled, and she quickly picked up the bottle and stuffed it into her mouth, sucking it hard. It wasn't until the moment Nana entered the room that the slight shock on her face gradually eased. Fortunately, Nana is still there. She must have heard wrongly. Ding! It has been detected that the hidden luck heroine and Beiyu's love for the host has reached its peak, and she has shown initial signs of surrender, and the special option of luck connection is about to be opened. Ding! Congratulations to the host and the hidden luck heroine for awakening luck divine ability. Life and death depend on each other. Outside the door, the Gu girl sat on a petrified Gu, lowered her head, listening to the sound of eating candied haws on a stick inside. The look of grievance on her face became more intense, and the candied haws in her mouth also felt more and more bitter. Suddenly, a familiar sound of footsteps came, which immediately disrupted her thoughts. She looked up and saw her grandma striding towards her with a cold face and trembling slightly. Grandma! Anya was stunned and subconsciously wanted to stop her, but when she was stared at coldly, she felt her blood was suppressed. She was so frightened that she squatted back in the corner and continued to bite the candied haws. Boom, boom, boom. A gentle knock on the door came from outside, seeming to remind the people inside. The next moment, the door was opened directly from the outside. The plump, mature figure of the great elder appeared outside the door with a cold face. When she looked inside with cold eyes, her pupils shrank. Having seen the big scene, she immediately recovered and said coldly, "Master Emperor Gu wakes up early and wants to see you in an hour. I will give you another half hour." Snapped. The door is closed. Half an hour later. Snapped. The door opens again. The great elder's cold and beautiful face appeared again, staring straight into the room. Time is up. But the two people in the room paid no attention to them. Click, click. Her fist is hard. The Gu girl in the corner poked her head out curiously, just like a curious child in childhood, wanting to take a look. Snapped. Before the Gu girl could see it, she received a punch. She covered her head in pain and shrank back into the corner. Finally, I'll give you another half hour. Snapped. The door closed again. In the blink of an eye, another half hour passed. Snapped. The door opens again. The great elder's slightly rosy cold face was a little unbearable. His fists were clenched tightly, and his fruit was trembling. That's enough. You think I'm air, right? For a long time. I don't know if it was an hour or 2 hours ago. Everything returns to silence. Chen Xiaoyuan's anger was almost extinguished by the Beiyu brand fire extinguisher. As a fire extinguisher, and Beiyu gradually came back to her senses and found her aunt standing aside, and was suddenly shocked. "Aunt, why are you here?" She subconsciously stood in front of Chen Xiaoyuan and protected him behind her, which was both protection and cover. Laugh. The great elder sneered. "Well, you really think she is heir, right? Haha. Do you still think of me as your aunt?" As she said that, she ignored Beiyu, who was a little ashamed, but gave a fierce look at the male kid who was leisurely holding the tea seeds, and she wanted to catch him and spank him. He is such a curse at such a young age, but he is so greedy. He must not let him stay. At this moment, the great elder who had been in the air for a long time was getting a little angry. However, she is always determined and able to suppress her anger. "Let's go. Don't keep Lord Emperor Gu waiting for too long." With that said, she opened the door behind her, ignoring Anya, who fell into the water because of eavesdropping, and walked out first, her steps a little hurried and weak. Behind him, Chen Beiyuan, who looked innocent, put on his black cloak again, carried the bamboo basket on his back, and filled the empty milk bottle for the little silly dragon. Then, like a good boy, he was held by Biyu's hand and walked outside. Temple. When the great elder and Mei returned with Biyu and Chen Beiyuan, the entire temple was almost empty. The original spokespersons of each company have long since disappeared without a trace. Apparently, he was taken away by other elders and placed there. The great elder and Mei didn't have many surprises. She led a few people towards the holy temple in the temple. Among them, as a good boy, Chen Beiyuan once wanted to say hello to the elder, but he did not get a response, only a cold snort. He was so frightened that he subconsciously hugged and Saint's thigh. As they went deeper into the temple, the expressions of everyone present began to become solemn. And Biyu, the new Saintess, is no longer as weak as before, and her cool face gradually shows a majestic and solemn look. Even Chen Beiyuan's face no longer had the mischief before, and his eyes seemed to be shining with some kind of strange light. I'm finally going to get in touch with that extremely mysterious Emperor Gu. Boom. When the great elder led Chen Beiyuan and his party into the Gu clan's legendary holy temple, where the mysterious Emperor Gu inhabits, an overwhelming chill suddenly swept over. It was an icy air that was enough to freeze the body and soul. Chen Beiyuan and others looked up, and what they saw was a world like ice and snow. Snowflakes condensed in the air, slowly falling and piling up on the ground. Huge and lifelike ice sculptures are currently placed randomly outside the temple. These ice sculptures include ferocious beasts, aliens, and humans. Each of them is lifelike, as if they are alive, but they are frozen. In front of the holy temple in front of us, there is an ice sculpture of a giant dragon. Judging from the aura left behind, it seems that it was a half-step dragon emperor during his lifetime. The moment everyone stepped into the temple, Chen Beiyuan could feel a terrifying imperial thought sweeping over them, as if they were confirming something. The terrifying coercion of the emperor's thoughts gave him a sense of danger that was even better than that of old Ghost Lin before. If it were anyone else, he would probably be crushed directly in front of that powerful imperial thought. But Chen Beiyuan's face remained as usual, calm and composed, not affected at all. He even had the thought to take out a cotton-padded jacket from the system space and put it on the little silly dragon in the bamboo basket behind him. And his move undoubtedly shocked the great elder who had been observing him, and there was something strange in his eyes. The reason why she and Biyu were able to resist the pressure of Emperor Gu to a certain extent was because of the pure blood of Emperor Gu in their bodies. But the kid in front of me, whose cultivation and aura is only at the general level, can actually do it. This is a bit interesting. Biyu, you can go in. Lord Emperor Gu is waiting for you. The great elder in Mei stopped and suddenly spoke. And Biyu paused, and her eyes seemed to pause for a moment on the little boy at her feet. Chen Beiyuan nodded to her and signaled the other party to do what he wanted. Go and get what is rightfully yours. And Biyu nodded heavily. Under the gaze of the others, he walked towards the gate of the holy temple. Just when she walked to the temple gate, a gust of wind and snow suddenly swept over, swallowing and wrapping it, and the surrounding area was plunged into darkness and then disappeared in front of everyone. When she slowly opened her eyes, she found herself in a world of ice and snow. A huge creature was hovering above the snow peaks, slowly lowering its head, looking down at her. That huge shadow seemed to cover the entire ice and snow world at this moment. It was a majestic dragon head that looked like a huge mountain, condensed from ice and snow, and crystal clear. Just listen to the female's coercive voice coming from its mouth. It's interesting. Although your bloodline is much stronger than the previous one, it is nothing in the saintess of the past. However, there is something magical about the spiritual liquid in your body. It can actually make your bloodline appear. Signs of atavism. You are qualified to accept my power. Perhaps, after 100 years, a new Gu emperor will appear again in the Gu clan. Spiritual liquid? Bloodline returns to ancestors. And Biyu looked stunned, stroking her slightly enlarged belly, her eyes full of surprise. As Biyu was transported into the holy temple, she began to accept the inheritance of Emperor Gu. Chen Beiyuan and the first elder stood outside the holy temple without saying a word for a long time, as if they had their own thoughts. At this moment, Chen Beiyuan could feel the other party's eyes constantly circling and looking at him, as if he was thinking about something, but he didn't care at all. According to the description in the original book, the mysterious Emperor Gu is called Xian Ice Dragon Soul Gu, and its external body manifests itself as a huge ice dragon, but it is not an entity, but exists in the form of a soul. Xianbing Dragon Soul Gu, as the natal Gu of the legendary female Gu Emperor, it has the terrifying power of freezing the world. Once it goes all out, even time and space can be temporarily frozen, which is almost extremely terrifying. In the original work, even Chen Laoma suffered a loss from this mysterious Emperor Gu. Inadvertently, his soul and body were frozen, and he turned into an ice sculpture. He was picked up by the secretly watching White Fairy, remove the body, and take it back to defrost it using a special method. The freezing ability of this mysterious Emperor Gu is difficult for even the strongest at the same level to resist. Even a strong man like the old man will be attacked by a sneak attack. I just don't know if the old monster in Dao Palace can withstand it. Chen Beiyuan's eyes were deep. In the entire southern Xinjiang, what he valued most was actually the terrifying power of the Emperor Gu. It is almost equivalent to the existence of a strategic weapon, which can play a special role at critical moments. Now, southern Xinjiang is about to take over and become a boost, and the ascension to heaven has reached the final step. The Chen family is in the north, and the Gu tribe is in the south. One by one, the royal family will be sandwiched in the middle. Once it has taken action, it will be an earth-shaking change. However, before that, the Lin family has to speed up the progress. Just as he was thinking about the matter, the great elder on the side suddenly spoke up, interrupted his thoughts, and asked a question that made him a little stunned. "You brat, are you a member of the Qin family? Who are you, Qin Shanha?" Northern Front, City Lord's Mansion. Mr. Chun, who was lying on the hospital bed, dying and coughing violently from time to time, suddenly sneezed. For some reason, he always had an inexplicable ominous premonition. That shouldn't be the case. Why do I have such an ominous premonition? Could it be that those two idiots saw through my plan? Luogu Mountain. The two most powerful ferocious beasts, Kuei Nyo and Jiaoying, gathered together again, and gathered countless elite ferocious beast alien armies, as if they had made some preparations. During this period, my snake cub has been monitoring the various whereabouts of people in Beijing City. It has been confirmed that the old madman Chen Shanha is really ill and where he is hiding at the moment. Next, we can get ready to start moving. The smallest one among the 9 heads of the 9 baby beast, which I thought had the wisdom and advantage over me, suddenly sneezed and sprayed out drops of venom. Imperial capital, Lin family. Lin Jiuzhou, the newly appointed head of the Lin family, is busy handling many family affairs. The situation in southern Xinjiang has been stabilized. The new saintess of the Gu tribe is not the one the family bet on before, but the predecessor saintess who has disappeared for 20 years. Now most of the family's relationships have been severed. When the lord of southern Xinjiang comes to power, the Lin family has to re-establish relationships. Otherwise, the family's interests in southern Xinjiang may be affected. In addition, even the army on the southern front will be affected. Now that half of the Lin family's military power has been taken away, the direct lineage of the Lin family in the 4th and 5th theaters has been almost wiped out by Qin Jiqing. Only the southern battlefield still retains the only elite Lin family army that can make a comeback at a critical moment. However, due to time issues, the military weapons and equipment on the southern front are in disrepair and must be replaced. Before entering the Gongdiyuan, my father went to the palace and asked the person in the palace for weapons and equipment from 5 border guards. It happened to be transported during this period, and they had to pass through the corridor of southern Xinjiang. It wasn't until he personally took over the Lin family that Lin Jiuzhou became aware of the current dire situation of the Lin family. This is almost a hot potato. As the military power was weakened and the strength was greatly reduced, each family looked at it with eager eyes, almost wishing to tear a piece of flesh from the Lin family. Each family acted as an afterthought and took sides. After successfully siding with the Chen family afterwards, it would be fine if they didn't get some benefits for themselves. Just as he said, they don't have the guts to suppress bandits. However, there is still no problem in attacking Qiufeng severely in the name of suppressing bandits. Nowadays, the Lin family's share of interest in the Sakura vassal country has been squeezed out by various families, leaving almost only a little bit of water. The newly opened territory on the northern front has been repeatedly attacked by people from various families without any cover-up. Over in the Magic City, Lin Yunluo and the child in her belly were safe and sound. Those guys are not crazy enough to hit the muzzle of the gun. If the devil has some strange movements and disturbs Lin Yunluo's pregnancy, the Chun family can twist off the head of the troublemaker. Even the Heavenly King must die. But even so, it still had a big impact on the Lin family. After Lin Jiuzhou came to power, he also chose the decision of forbearance, shrinking the power of the entire Lin family, giving up some necessary resources, and retaining his living strength. His decision naturally aroused dissatisfaction among some people within the Lin family, but with Lin Jiuzhou's current status, no one dared to raise it directly. At this moment, Lin Jiuzhou was ready for a protracted war. He was preparing to arm the last elite army of the Lin family on the entire southern front and gradually expand it, waiting for the opportunity to compete with the Qin family again. As the only royal family that did not inflict trouble on the Lin family, and even supported a large number of weapons and equipment, the Jiang family was actually not that kind. The man in the palace would not see the Chun family being the dominant one, let alone watch the Lin family, the second in command of the military, fall. He would definitely support one or two and let the Lin family continue to compete with the Qin family. The royals don't let things go easily, and most of the time they still want to be referees, not players. However, now that the affairs in southern Xinjiang have become so big, every family has begun to take action. Even the royal family has taken action and spent a lot of money to win over and make friends. However, the Qin family has not had much trouble yet. There was no movement, but someone casually sent a congratulatory gift, and it hasn't been delivered yet. Lin Jiuzhou looked slightly warped, his brows furrowed, as if he couldn't think clearly. Could it be that the Chun family has lost their minds, got carried away, and no longer pays attention to the Gu tribe in southern Xinjiang? You know, in order to ensure their interests in southern Xinjiang, each family has spent a lot of money and given away a lot of good things. What Lin Jiuzhou didn't know at this moment was that the Chun family's gift had been delivered a long time ago, and it was delivered directly to Ensaintis, but it was very generous. Once it's sold, it's a big gift of hundreds of millions, no, billions, tens of billions. Just when Lin Jiuzhou was a little confused, the door was suddenly pushed open, and he frowned. However, after seeing the person coming, the dissatisfied look disappeared. Jiuxiao, why are you here? The person who came was surprisingly his third brother Lin Jiuxiao. Now, in the entire Lin family, he was the only third brother who dared to act so wantonly and push the door in directly without his permission. Even Qin's wife's behavior last time earned him a scolding. Brother, I heard that you haven't eaten all day. Even my sister-in-law came to persuade you to no avail, and she even scolded you. It's all because of my own family, so I don't want you to do it as if you have a grudge. Brother, I went out of my way to make you suffer. I'll bring you a bowl of lotus seed soup. Lin Jiuxiao walked in with a smile on her face, carrying a bowl of steaming lotus seed soup. It's rare that you have a heart. The coldness and majesty on Lin Jiuzhou's face dissipated a bit, and he became a bit more generous as an elder brother. He was not suspicious, and went directly to the bowl of lotus seed soup, stirred it, and took a sip. At this moment, he couldn't help but feel warm in his heart when he looked at his third brother, whose temperament was much more stable than before after the great changes in the Lin family. In the eyes of outsiders, although he is cold, vicious, and almost unpopular, in his heart he attaches great importance to his family and family ties, even to the extreme. For him, only brothers and sisters with the same blood are his own and can be trusted, and the rest are outsiders. Even married wives are the same. However, at this moment, he did not notice that when he took a sip of lotus seed soup, his third brother's seemingly smiling eyes showed a flash of uncontrollable excitement. Originally, I was thinking of letting other people go, but outsiders are not as suitable as you and my brothers. This time, a batch of weapons and equipment is going to be transported to the southern front. You should also go with me. Look at the situation more for me and share more. After Lin Jiuzhou casually drank the lotus seed soup in his hand, he seemed to have made a decision and spoke slowly. When Lin Jiuxiao left the house with the bowl, she suddenly saw the slightly anxious figure of her sister-in-law Qin at the corner, and a strange look flashed in her eyes. When Mrs. Qin saw the empty bowl in Lin Jiuxiao's hand, the anxious look on her face was relieved a lot, and she sighed and said, "Sure enough, your eldest brother still listens to you as his younger brother. Sister-in-law, don't waste your money. In fact, I still have you in my heart, but I don't know how to express it. By the way, sister-in-law, there is still a lot of sweet water in the kitchen. Do you want a bowl?" Lin Jiuxiao's seemingly respectful gaze could not conceal a trace of evil thoughts. Kitchen. Lin Xiao slowly stirred the pot of lotus seed soup in front of him, with a strange smile on his face. There are densely packed holes in his chest, large and small, inside which are squirming flesh worms like lotus seeds. One by one, he pulled out the meat bugs from the flesh and threw them into the pot. "This is good food. Eat more, outside the holy temple." At this moment, Chen Beiyuan, who was carrying a bamboo basket with a little silly dragon on his back, seemed unaware of what was happening in the Lin family in the imperial capital. I saw him looking at the elder and Mei with some astonishment in front of him, who had the exotic customs of southern Xinjiang and looked like a ripe peach. The surprise in his eyes was barely concealed. Digging. Good guy, calling my old man by his name so rudely. Could it be another bad fate that the old man left behind back then? No, even the southern Xinjiang Gu tribe still has an old friend. Old man, you are really getting stronger. However, just when he thought he had guessed the truth, the great elder's next words made him completely stupid. Looking at your expression, it goes without saying that it must be the Chen family. Chen Shanha is probably one of your elders. Your little brat looks somewhat similar to that B*************** D from back then. Even the temperament between your eyebrows is very similar. It's like being carved from the same mold. The bad relationship between your Chen family and my Gu clan in southern Xinjiang is really endless. Back then, that B*********** D was so obsessed with Lord Gu Emperor that he didn't even think about food or tea. He almost even gave up on the Gu clan. The great elder curled his lips and looked at the astonished little face in front of him. A complex memory seemed to appear on that beautiful face, and he murmured to himself. Boom. Chen Xiaoyuan's pupils shrank. His cute face looked like he had seen a ghost, and he couldn't help but open his mouth. What the hell? Master Gu Emperor is so fascinated that he doesn't even think about food or tea. This means that the great elder in front of him is not his old man's old friend. Is the old man's real old sweetheart the female Gu Emperor of southern Xinjiang who has fallen for more than 100 years? What the hell? That is the legendary mystical emperor of southern Xinjiang who has lived for more than 500 years. The female Gu Emperor once took a magical product that prolongs life and prolongs life. The old man must be at least a few hundred years younger than her. You two are so different from each other. This is not how old cows eat young grass, right? However, considering that the female Gu Emperor of southern Xinjiang is said to be the most powerful empress in Donghua, her appearance is even more stunning, and she almost rules the entire southern Xinjiang and cedes territory to the king. Even the royal family has a headache. It seems that the old man doesn't suffer much. Just when Chen Beiyuan was calling for digging, the great elder in front of him ignored his strange behavior and walked towards a stone carving next to the temple. Click. I saw that she gently pressed the eyeball of a ferocious beast with only a head and no body on the stone sculpture. Along with a violent sound, a huge stone door suddenly opened in front of you, revealing the unique grotto heaven. She walked right in and waved her hand. Chen Beiyuan also followed closely behind, carrying a bamboo basket and the sleeping little silly dragon. Just after stepping into the stone gate, Great Elder in May's charming and somewhat emotional voice sounded again. About 135 years ago, when the Gu clan was still at its peak, it was the undisputed overlord of the entire southern Xinjiang. With the Gu emperor around, even the Donghua royal family did not dare to easily provoke. At that time, the Gu emperor was almost extremely disgusted and repelled by the Donghua Empire. He believed that southern Xinjiang was a territory belonging to the southern Xinjiang people. He refused to accept the canonization of the Donghua Empire and implemented a blockade policy in southern Xinjiang, denying outsiders easy access to southern Xinjiang. But the blockade at that time did not last long, and something unexpected happened. A young and handsome Donghua man suddenly fell from the sky and fell directly to the border of southern Xinjiang. He accidentally broke into Gu City and was still in Gu City. There was quite a commotion, and they even broke into the emperor's pond where Master Gu was bathing. He is very young, but his strength is very strong. Although he is just a war emperor who has just gathered his divine ability, not even the 2 emperor-level Gu insects in the clan can do anything to him. It was not until Lord Gu Emperor personally took action. Capture him. According to the rules of the Gu clan at that time, this man should be executed. But to everyone's surprise, Lord Gu Emperor not only did not kill this man, he even fell in love with him and then imprisoned him. This place is favored day and night, and even the things belonging to the Gu clan are in ruins. This level lasts for 10 years. The corners of Chen Beiyuan's eyes twitched. Looking at the huge grotto in front of him, as well as all the daily necessities, as well as the deep palm prints faintly visible on the wall, he felt that the world view was a bit exploded. The mighty and domineering old man of his family was actually captured and imprisoned by the female Gu emperor of southern Xinjiang when he was young, and served as a slave for 10 years. Hiss. It seems to ruin the image a bit. He couldn't even imagine the scene at that time. A whole 10 years. Imprisoned by the empress for 10 years. And I was very favored for 10 years. This is not fatal. No wonder in family history, the old man disappeared for a period of time when he was young, but there is no detailed record. However, after returning, his strength increased greatly. What AF G Black history. When the old man was young, he was charming, but unexpectedly, he accidentally fell into it. Just when Chen Beiyuan was amazed, he didn't notice that in the bamboo basket behind him, the little silly dragon that was supposed to be sleeping soundly suddenly turned over, and its tail also adjusted its downward direction. What happens after that? It has to be said that human gossip talent is endless. At this moment, after hearing about the dark history of his old man, Chen Beiyuan couldn't help but feel a little more energetic. At that time, Lord Gu Emperor was obviously really in love and wanted to leave with him, but he was opposed by everyone. Then, he did not hesitate to develop a love Gu to keep him in the Gu clan completely. But in the end, she was still reluctant to plant a love charm on him, but chose to let him go. She knows very well that he has a lot of burdens on him, and there is no way he can stay in southern Xinjiang. Since then, Lord Gu Emperor has been depressed all day long, without the energy he had before. He always stares at the north. He will only recover when he hears the news about him. As time goes by, the people who were captured gradually became the purple gold beams and white jade pillars that support the Donghua Empire. And Lord Gu Emperor also died because of lifespan and the hidden injuries that year. The descendants stay. During the time when Lord Gu Emperor was enthroned, the Gu clan was in chaos. Someone in the Donghua Empire proposed to take back the southern border by force, but that person vetoed it and forced him back. 1-vote veto. That really looks like the old man's style. What I don't want to do, no one else can do. You all want to fight, right? I just won't let him hit you. If I say no beating, then no beating. I may not be able to influence your decision, but I definitely have a way to tip the table over. If you have the skills, you can beat me too. Take it back together from the north and the south. Chen Beiyuan was silent for a while, and he couldn't help but picture the domineering old man at that time in his mind, and he was filled with emotions. No wonder southern Xinjiang has always been independent and has a special status. In addition to the huge benefits contained in it, it is also because the old man had a hand in it and overturned all the proposals discussed by the upper levels of the empire. At that time, the Lin family who was in charge of the southern front probably went crazy. If the entire southern Xinjiang was completely conquered and included in the empire's territory, the Lin family's military deployment on the southern front would no longer be hindered and restricted. We can use this to initiate conscription on the spot and use all ethnic groups in southern Xinjiang as a new source of troops. It seems that the old man was really moved back then. Otherwise, he would not have taken action in that situation. You must know that the situation of the Chen family at that time was not much better than that of the Gu clan. After turning around, I didn't expect that the Chen family had such a connection with the Gu tribe in southern Xinjiang more than 100 years ago. This is somewhat beyond Chen Beiyuan's expectation. The imperial proposal of that year must really be passed, and the whole country must really suppress southern Xinjiang. Not to mention how much benefit the Lin family will gain from their strength and how high their strength will soar. All ethnic groups in southern Xinjiang, as well as the Gu tribe, will be the first to bear the brunt, and it will definitely be miserable. The people from southern Xinjiang will probably be regarded by the Lin family as cannon fodder that can be continuously replenished and incorporated into the army. Not to mention the Gu clan, which is all female, its fate is even more conceivable. Because of that incident back then, the entire Gu clan, no, probably the entire southern Xinjiang, owes you the Chun family a great favor. The great elder lowered his eyes, looked at the little boy in front of him, and said with complicated expressions. As a person involved at that time, she naturally knew very well that Chun Shana's actions at that time allowed the entire Gu clan to avoid a catastrophe. No matter how powerful Emperor Gu is, it can't be stronger than the entire Donghua Empire. Once the Donghua Empire wants to forcibly reject this old and stubborn problem in southern Xinjiang, I am afraid that the resurrection of the Gu clan empress will be useless. Unless one's personal power reaches a new height, it will inevitably fall into decline. It seems you have guessed my identity. The innocent smile on Chen Xiaoyuan's face gradually dissipated, revealing a depth and coldness. At this point, it would be really funny to keep pretending. The other party had obviously guessed his identity, otherwise, he would not have told him these things. The number one prodigy Chen Beiyuan of the human race, who made a big fuss in the imperial capital some time ago, defeated the ancestor of the Lin family and turned the entire empire upside down. Even the royal family, the Jiang family, suffered great losses. If I can't guess it now, my life will be in vain for more than 100 years. The eyes of the Gu clan's great elder were shining with a strange light, and he looked straight at the little boy in front of him, with a look of surprise on his charming face. From the moment they met, she roughly guessed the identity of the little boy in front of her, but it was still difficult to determine. After all, the image difference between the two is too big. It wasn't until the other party was able to ignore the pressure of the Emperor Gu that she completely determined the other party's identity. Chen Beiyuan, a monster who was not even young enough to set foot in the Emperor realm and defeated the strongest human race, the third strongest person in the Donghua Empire. His achievements once shocked the entire human race empire. Even the transcendent level forces of the major foreign ferocious beasts were amazed and looked at him sideways. Since the end of the Imperial Capital War, Chen Beiyuan has gained a new title. Human Race First Prodigy. Who would have thought that the famous prodigy of the human race, known all over the world, would actually turn into a child? It seems that the battle had a lot of side effects on you, and even your cultivation level dropped significantly. Under such circumstances, if you still dare to come to southern Xinjiang, are you not afraid of being forced to stay here? The tone of the Gu clan's great elder changed. Suddenly, there was an undisguised threat and coldness. Boom, a terrifying and extreme chill burst out of her. The snowflakes falling in the air suddenly solidified and stood still, as if time had been frozen by the extreme cold. In an instant, the whole world seemed to have returned to silence, falling into a deathly silence. At this moment, her body actually erupted with a terrifying coercion that far exceeded that of old Ghost Lin. Almost instantly, we reached the most powerful realm in this world. I'm afraid that all the opponents Chen Beiyuan has encountered before are not as terrifying as the person in front of him now. However, faced with the sudden threatening remarks from the person in front of him, The smile on Chen Beiyuan's face remained unchanged without any change, and he said calmly, "As long as I want to, no one in the entire southern border can stop me. Even if your master, the female emperor of the Gu tribe who was at her peak 500 years ago, is resurrected." Boom. The great elder of the Gu clan suddenly shrank his pupils, and the cold light in his eyes weakened. He seemed a little surprised at Chen Beiyuan's calmness and arrogance at the moment. It had been a long time since her master had fallen, and she hadn't encountered such an arrogant person. Yes, the person talking to Chen Beiyuan at this moment is no longer in Mei from before, but the Emperor Gu hidden in the temple. She seems to have seen Chen Beiyuan's plan from beginning to end, and has begun to take action herself. "Boy, you are more arrogant than that guy Chinshana. I can see that your ambition is very big, reaching a terrifying level. The entire Gu clan, not even the entire southern Xinjiang, is just a pawn in your eyes. You are the most ambitious guy I have met since I was born. No wonder that forbidden magic skill chose you to be its host." Emperor Gu stared directly at Chen Beiyuan in front of him and said in a cold voice, "According to the agreement I made with my master back then, I can't possibly break my promise. That girl inside is indeed deeply in love with you, and her love goes deep into her bones, just like her master back then. I'm afraid it's useless if I try to stop her. I thought I could easily spend another 100 years and be free, but I didn't expect to meet a monster like you. Forget it, this may be fate. I hope the Gu clan left behind by the master can have a better ending." Chen Beiyuan looked at the eldest elder, who was talking to himself in front of him, as if accepting his fate, and finally a smile appeared on his face. The last piece of the puzzle. Finally, it's all together.
Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe.